What up, perps? Kid Copious. Back in the stratosphere. Purple State Party. You know what we're trying to do here? We're trying to rep America, the center, common sense, and good old fashioned freedom. We got a lot of craziness to get to today. So let's get this sucker crack a lackin'. Kick this off with love beyond color. Some black people need to lose the victim narrative. I am not a victim. I am a victor. Nowadays, people are given a free opportunity. I'm not going to speak to whether or not slavery does or does not affect people nowadays, because I think to some degree it might. But what he closes with: take responsibility and love beyond color. Take responsibility and love beyond political party. Love beyond ideologies. Look at things for real. Take a look at the reality of situations. And, we need to stop with this whole idea of we're going to do kooky things. And then when there's bad consequences, we're like, how do we make this have no consequences? And how could we have foreseen that? We didn't know. We didn't know when we passed a law that decriminalized drugs, it was going to lead to an epidemic of drug use. Bullshit. That's the root cause of the problems right now in America, is that, and around the world really, is that nobody looks at the common sense outcome. Letting all of these people spill across the U.S. border. How is that going to work out well? It might work out well for a handful of individuals who cross illegally. It ain't going to work out for the country. It ain't going to work out for all the other immigrants. Ha ha. Beetlejuice back. Some people say she's whatever that thing is from Lord of the Rings. The goblin. I would know. I should know that, like Smeagol or something like that. Put it down in the comments if you know who I'm talking about. But Lori Lightfoot to teach class at Harvard on how to fail utterly at your job and still get to teach class at Harvard. This is the kind of stuff that does not help. We're going to see some more examples of that later on. But when groups protect the individual to save the group, it leads to bad outcomes. This woman should not be teaching anybody anything. Okay, she's just full of bad ideas. We saw what she did. She's a hypocritical racist. Somebody who rails against white people, who won't give white journalists an interview, but goes home to a white wife. Hypocrisy. I mean, like, if you own up to hypocrisy and just say, look, I was wrong. I mean, that's cool. Like, I got no problem with that. But when you double down, triple down, quadruple down, pentakill, great band. League of Legends. Man wears masks to let people know he's terrible at risk analysis. They're bringing this back. Look, again, this is going to be one of those things where they're going to say conspiracy theories about bringing back masks to affect the 2024 election are just kooky. Well, look, if you are seeking to control your population and you got that rush under COVID of shutting down businesses and going after your targets, we don't like churches, so we're going to arrest the church leaders for having church outside, right? If you like that kind of power, why not try to bring it back? Why not have a sequel, right? I don't think people are going to play along. But who fucking knows, man? A lot of people, they are just absolute sheeps and slaves to the left. They will not resist them one bit. They're afraid of getting kicked out of the group. And we're going to see that again. We're going to see another example of that. I'm kind of teasing one particular story right now. 21 countries have officially agreed to ditch the U.S. dollar. Wow, that kind of says a lot. Okay? And you got some heavyweights, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Iran. Oh, no. Part of it is these sanctions. And when you look at that upper list of Brunei, Cambodia, Myanmar, Vietnam, some of those, they have some pretty intolerant laws that we might try to force them to change, particularly in some of the countries that are run by Muslims. Iran, China, they're our enemies. So, yeah, of course, they're for it. But it is, I think, a lot to do with climate change, because I think the lefties want to start imposing heavy sanctions to force these places to play ball. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's not. There's too much bullshit out there right now, man. You know, the pandemic, green energy, climate, the climate initiatives, all of that. A lot of stuff out there is just cloaked in a lot of like, ooh. It's hard to tell, but I think a lot of these countries, that's one of the reasons why they're leaving. They don't want to be pushed around. So if they're not using the U.S. dollar for global trade, then, hey, you know, we can't push them around. Yeah. New York City under siege from migrants as Biden condemned for ignoring crisis. This was a former NYPD detective, Bo, and he kind of came to the realization that taking in 110,000 people in 1 year, who have no legal right to work, they have no legal right to be here, okay? No right. They may claim they do, but a lot of these people have no right to be here, all right? I don't want America to be an exclusive club, but if you just open the floodgates, you already know what's going to happen, okay? A great example of that is you have a doggy door, right? You know, if you just have the traditional one that swings, your dog can go in, your dog can go out, but so can the raccoons. It's kind of the same thing. I don't want us to be the world's country club, but at the same time, there needs to be controls. I mean, that's why buildings have codes that say how many people can be in there. Look, at any building you go into, there's a maximum occupancy sign right on the wall somewhere. And that's all I'm asking for. Maximum occupancy. That's it. We need to control the flow. But anyhow, he goes on to say, I'm sorry to say I believe the president's incapable of really comprehending what the hell is going on. He's getting told what to say and steered around. The guy can't even walk off a stage or know where he's going. And this is real. Yeah. The president let people down by opening the borders and having no plan. The detective goes on to say, I'm not trying to be a wise ass on him. I'm telling you, the man is out of it and he's running the country. I think a lot of us echo that sentiment. And, you know, Adams came out and said, this issue will destroy New York City. And, of course, even though he is a member of the Democratic Party, the Democratic Party has turned on him, and they're calling him a xenophobe. All right, she's Democratic Labor or some shit like that. But again, it's all in the same lefty little camp. Lefties slam Adams for NYC migrant crisis truth because they're accountable to no one. Their voters will vote for them no matter what. And I think you could say that about both sides. That is one of the core tenets of Purple State, the center movement, is that we don't want people simply voting for us because they like the letter next to our name. I want candidates who earn our vote through their plans and their actions, not the letter. Damn. Queen State Senator Jessica Ramos went right on television and called him a xenophobe. And of course, she had to have her sad AOC story. I had really tough times falling asleep thinking about the idiocy that was spewed at Town Hall. Those words were divisive and xenophobic. Right. You realize now that the immigrants that are flowing here are coming from all over. Look at the population of the so-called buses being sent to LA. You know, a couple weeks ago, there were people from China and Cameroon. The latest round, China and Russia. Okay? This is not about a particular group of people. This is about trying to maintain some semblance of control. And the reality is a majority of New Yorkers, 82%, see the influx as a problem for real reasons. And a clear majority, almost 60%, say New York's already done enough. So again, they declare themselves a sanctuary city, but they can't live up to it. And that's a common theme with Democrats. They promote these high ideals and they can't live up to them. Same thing with the Family First and the Christian Republicans. They often do not live up to it. It's on both sides. But right now, the reason why I don't focus in on a guy who preaches family, but then, has rumpy pumpy with the nanny, is because they're not running the show. They're not the people who are in charge of these cities. Eventually, these cities will burst, and in more and more and more of America will be overwhelmed by these fucking crazy policies and these crazy people. And people who are just here to mooch off the system. It's going to cost the city and its taxpayers billions. That's the harsh truth, no matter how many leftists fake up righteous anger for sound bites. The truth of the matter is this is going to cost a lot. It's not xenophobic to worry about the massive budgetary strains. By the end of fiscal 2025, even if the inflow levels off, which it probably won't, it'll still be going up because Biden's still in office, right? $12 billion for the city of New York. That's the combined budget of the Parks and Sanitation and the fire department. They need more money for both of those departments, but they're going to spend it on Joe Biden's insane open border policy. And I don't want to hear that it's not an open border, because it fucking is. They are allowing people to come in here and then self-track. They cut the trackers off. They ditch the phones. They disappear. They go out and they figure out, how can I get government benefits and work a few hours to make extra money? And a lot of them just turn to drug dealing. And when I say a lot, I mean, we could be, even if it's only 10%, you're still talking tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people becoming criminals once they get across the border. Because we have no checks and balances. We're not even screening them for diseases. See? And it's Adam's job to worry about the city. He's the mayor. He has to make hard calls, not governed by Twitter posts or virtual signaling. And what hard calls has Ramos ever made? She's a lefty in a safe Dem seat in the highest paid state legislature. She's responsible to no one because she has a D next to her name. So she takes an extreme and childish position on migrants without having to face reality. That's the motto of the Democrats. No consequences. No consequences. Speaking of safe Dems, Pelosi announces bid for 2 more years of insider trading. She's already, 83? She knows she's just going to get elected on her name and the letter next to her name. That's what she's going to do. They're there for themselves. She says, now more than ever, our city needs to advance San Francisco values and further our recovery. Oh, really? San Francisco values. Okay, great. Maybe the values part, but the actions? Criminy. That place is a fucking dump. And of course, she's running partly to thwart Trump, because you got to throw that up. Get that dog whistle out there, Nancy. Come on. Come on. In her 80s, it's over. Okay, it's over. I'm sorry. It's time to step aside. But no, they can't do it because they need to make sure they lock up that vote. If she steps away, that opens up for a third party or a Republican in that position. But now they'll just keep voting for Pelosi because she's going to save us from Trump. And she talks about California values and she talks about thwarting Trump. But, and Nancy, who locked California down? Who sank the downtown by causing an exodus away from the offices with the COVID policies? Who flouted the COVID policies? You did, Nancy. Who let all the criminals onto the streets in San Francisco to ruin it? Who let the drugs fester? Huh? It's not Trump. And in fact, of the situation right now, I honestly cannot figure out what we can actually blame Trump for. I don't see any policies that he put into place that are contributing to this. You might want to talk, okay, we can talk about the deficit. That could be your retort. Oh, he ran up the deficit. Okay. All right. But that's not the problem that's killing people on a daily basis. That's not what's causing people to leave California. Okay? Not Trump raised the deficit. What are you protecting us from? You're not. You think you're a queen and you think you're entitled to rule no matter what you do. Red Panda water break. Another lefty turning on their own says California is a shit show under Newsom. Right. But I guess propping up proven failures is what the Democrat Party excels at these days. I got respect for her. I mean, yeah, she could be a lefty. Because look at what the other lefties are saying. California Governor Gavin Newsom confirms that he won't run in 2024 because Kamala Harris is a natural successor to Biden. Right. Yeah, you're right. We got old and dumb, and now we're just going to go down to young and dumber. Right? Newsom would create a lot of buzz. See, because again, that's what you need. You need buzz. Who cares about substance? It's all style. Right? He'll generate more excitement than Biden. Dude, a wet napkin generates more excitement than Biden. Come on. But they don't know what to do because who the fuck? I mean, the rest of the country is not going to fall for Gavin Newsom. They're just not. I mean, I'm sorry, but he's got a really, really bad track record right now. Speaking of idiot governors, the governor of New Mexico, it says that no constitutional right is absolute and that in an emergency, she can suspend those rights. No. That is not in there in any form. Of course, her whole thing is you can't carry concealed or open carry guns in Albuquerque and one other county because of gun violence. Right. So the law-abiding people who have a gun license can't carry their guns, but the criminals can continue. Well, I get it. There was a road rage incident. There's been people shot and killed. That is all tragic. But those are all individuals with individual situations. And to say that telling people not to carry guns is going to change anything, the criminals are still going to change it. Just carry them. They're not going to listen. And that's what I'm talking about. When I say that, you know what's going to happen. You know that the only people who will oblige this are law-abiding people. It's dumb. And talking earlier about Gavin Newsom, and Kamala Harris being the successor. Kamala says she may have to take over as president if Biden is unwell. Look at those two. That is one of the most corrupt politicians ever, Joe. And Kamala, I hate to say it, but she slept her way into politics. She is only in that position. Dude, Joe Biden's wife, Jill, told her to fuck off. She accused Biden of being a racist. She only sits there to check boxes. And that is not what we need in our government. We do not need stupid-ass quotas. Because if she takes over, oh my God, there's not going to be any control because she is just a laughing hyena who will literally do whatever the alphas tell her to do. Oh my God. But now all of a sudden, Nikki Haley is blowing everybody out of the water. I don't know where this CNN poll, I don't know how they phrased it. I don't know if it's accurate. But the thing about Nikki Haley, I trust her more than these other yobs. And here's some things that people will look at when it comes time to cast a vote. She's not Trump. Okay? She's not. If that's your hang up about the Republicans, Trump, well, she's not Trump. She's not America last, which most Americans are, we want to be first. America first is not a bad policy. She's not an old coot, Biden, or a lefty loon, like some of these other ones, like Newsom and Harris. She's willing to be flexible on hot topics. As president, she's not really going to have any say over abortion. I disagree with some of her reasons to ban abortion. I disagree with her on that, but I understand some of her leanings, and in recent years, she's starting to see it in a different light. But again, she's willing to change. So she may be the fresh perspective we Americans can rally together behind. Nikki Haley. And for you people out there who like a box to check, like, she's got a few checks. I mean, she's a mom. She's married. She's got kids. She's been in politics. She was a governor. She's an ambassador. You know? Oh, yeah, and she's Indian. So, again, you get to check that box. Woman, check. So, who knows? At least it's getting interesting. A lot of people are making a lot out of this. I can't really get behind this. I mean, she was carjacked. She was injured. You know, during the George Floyd killing, or the George Floyd's death, okay, she went on and stated, "Stay with me, dismantle the Minneapolis Police Department. They have systemically failed the black community." There's those dog whistles again. But anyhow, she was a victim of a pretty horrendous crime. She ended up with a broken leg. But, you know, when they talk about the police and the defunding, recent stats in the city show that 65% of the murder victims were black in a city that's 63% white. So the police are disproportionately investigating crimes against black people, too. And that's not what's failing. But now she's out talking about, you know, remember me when you're letting juveniles and young people out of custody to roam the streets instead of holding them accountable. Well, who's supposed to hold them? But honestly, like, you know, I include this because it includes the quote, "A conservative is a liberal who's been mugged." But I don't smile on this at all. I don't, you know, people get their comeuppance, but man, you know, she was carjacked at gunpoint in front of her neighbors, in front of her children. This was truly horrendous. And yes, this is the result of her side's politics. But we shouldn't celebrate this, okay? I use it as an example to show that we already know what the results of these policies are going to be. But I can't, you know. So anyhow, I've long said it. I straight up fucking hate Scientology. I think it's a cult. I think they took the name of Jesus to get a tax break. I think that they operate with slave labor, intimidation. You know, I'm not saying, I don't even consider them a religion. So in this discussion, yes, Catholics have done the same thing. Other groups have done the same thing, but I don't consider them to be, you know, a religion. I drive by several of their buildings and during, you know, for work and stuff like that. And I always make sure I give them a middle finger. But Danny Masterson proves that whole cult mentality, you know. So I kind of just like this, that his wife and friends, you know, because his friends are rich. I mean, I love Melinda Kunis, but I don't know how you're friends with this dude. But he only gets $68 worth of food on his commissary account. And, you know, you can get hygiene and snacks and things like that. He's going to be in there for 30 years, man. I like this one. This is just in a news article. The jail commissary does not offer iced cold Starbucks caffeine, but he can buy instant coffee. And he deserves it because he's a piece of shit. All right? You know, I watched his show, that 70s show. I didn't watch the ones after it. I never personally liked the guy because I thought he was an asshole. And then I found out he was a Scientologist. So I'm like, whoa, what's the odds? But, you know, he was sentenced to the maximum 30 years to life in prison, despite pleas from all these celebrities. And I just think it's great. You know, and this is one of those cases where, yes, it happened, you know, 20 years ago. But they did tell people. Okay, they told people. But what they were told, this comes from Lee Remini. She says, "I will always remind the public that in Scientology, if you report another Scientologist to law enforcement, you are committing a high crime. The consequences of such a high crime are devastating. You will lose everything you've ever known, from your family to your friends to your job." So these girls came forward and said what happened. And the church said, you can't go to the police. And if you do go to the police, we're going to kick you out. And in Scientology, if you leave Scientology, you leave everything behind. All your friends and your family. And when you're in there, If your friends and family aren't Scientologists, you will lose them too. They will do whatever they can because this is a cult. And this is a cult that makes money for people that sit up at the top, whether it was Hubbard. You know, L. Ron Hubbard was a science fiction writer who created this whole thing of Dianetics that morphed into this money-making scheme called Scientology. It is a load of shit. If they were really trying to help people get their lives on track, why would it cost tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to achieve levels within their organization? That's a fucking pyramid scheme. And they covered up and they intimidated these girls. They covered up for horrendous rapes. Sorry, he's been convicted of it. I don't know what else to say. He's a convicted rapist. Even other prisoners don't go for that. They will get their vengeance. He will be in isolation. He will have to be protected. What a piece of shit. Sympathetic article. Oh, his wife says he was learning the wine business after losing a Hollywood career. Yeah. Step 1, rape a bunch of girls. Step 2, lose your Hollywood career. Step 3, become a winemaker. Fuck you, dude. And a couple last ones here. California spent more than $600 million on environmental reviews for the high-speed rail line. That equates to $15 a person. Not a lot per person, but each one of us has paid into just these environmental reviews to the tune of $15 each. What? And it's not getting built. Look, people voted on it. The project went ahead with a budget. It was not going to be feasible. So pull the fucking plug. Bring back all the money. Bring it all back. $600 million. That could have done something. You could have done projects with that. You could have done little things, beautification things, grants to people to clean up their houses, to repaint them. Get some people in there that really help out in certain areas. Something. But instead, you did environmental reviews, which profited the environmental studyists. I don't know. But you won't pull back. And this is what we need of our politicians. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Do something about it. If your opinion has changed, just change it and own it. Be a fucking hypocrite. Biden's got a lot of blood on his hands. And it's only getting worse. And after we saw the middling shit that Trump was impeached for, I think this is very appropriate. The people, the MAGA, the Make America Great people, what's wrong with that slogan? And the good old-fashioned Republicans impeach Biden now. But the rhinos and the Dems don't want it done. God, I hate that. Every time I say Dems, I want to punch myself. There you go. The impeachment needs to happen. This dude was up to something. This dude put his influence up on the market. And I think it's still affecting us today because the two places where he was getting a lot of money, Ukraine and China. Ukraine is receiving a lot of money right now to fight Russia in something that doesn't necessarily benefit us one way or the other. Okay? Unless you believe in the dominoes, one country falls in the next country. I don't see what good it is. Green energy is just giving all kinds of money to China. As China prepares to take Taiwan and to disrupt U.S. interests, we are finding ways to give them the money to finance those operations. And he is linked to both of them. This may be the biggest crime ever committed by a president. And we need to get to the bottom of it. I don't care about the revenge. I don't care about they impeached Trump, let's impeach Biden. No, that's not where I'm coming from. I'm coming from, look, the evidence. I've covered the evidence on the show. It has been mounting. And this is how these conspiracies always fall apart. Some fucking asshole leaves his laptop at a computer repair shop. That's how it happens in the movies. That's how it happens in real life. Anytime you go to believe a conspiracy, always remember, people talk. People want to make money. And dumbasses always get in the way of a good plan. It's the way it works, all right? Well, I hope we had a little bit of enjoyment, a little bit of education here. I'm just trying to bring up some shit from the middle. I don't know if I'm wailing in the wind. But I'm Kid Copious, Purple State Party. And so are you. Love one another. And like I always say, vote with your head, not your hopes. And remember, dance it out.